There is life after divorce, and this topic might ruffle feathers because divorce has a way of doing so, because people get very passionate on either side. My purpose here is to have conversations worth having on topics that matter. And if that means that I have to bring disruption in order to upset the status quo, then I'm actually okay with that. Because improvement, especially self-improvement, doesn't happen without disruption. It doesn't happen without friction. And disruption follows intention. This is real life. I'm Kari, Heron, speaker, media content queen, and consultant to leaders, business owners, as well as governments, inviting you into this episode of Thrive with Kari. This is a community-supported podcast, so stick with me all the way until the very end. But right now, I need you to hit like and subscribe to help my channel grow, and share this episode so that we can grow and reach people like you who want to expand into the fullness of their purpose, no matter what. Now, housekeeping matters done. Let's delve deeply into the topic of the hour. This is the final episode of season 2. I can't believe we're already there, and it seems like the beginning of a thing is the end of a thing. What do I mean about that? I opened up this season talking about my divorce, and I guess I'll end talking about divorce again. But I'm going to be saying all the things that need to be said about divorce, no matter what side you're on. And it's not just for people who are married or people who are divorced. This is for everybody. So singles, stay tuned. You got lots to learn from this topic. Today we're delving deeply into a personal journey, the aftermath of divorce. And as a woman who has traversed the tumultuous waters of my own divorce, I understand the complexities and pain it entails. But I also know that it's not the end of the story. In fact, it can be the beginning of a beautiful transformation if we let it. So join me as I share my story, 10 ways that divorce broke me, 10 lessons that I learned in the process, and 10 ways my life is actually better because of it. So here's a guide, post-divorce, for those who are navigating separation and divorce, from breakdown to breakthrough. Number 1, these are the 10 ways that divorce broke me. The first one was that it literally shattered my dreams. The dissolution of my marriage shattered the dreams I had woven around a shared future, leaving me adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Divorce is death in and of itself, but nevertheless, no one ever marries hoping to divorce. It's just not one of those things that actually walk through your mind as you walk down the aisle. But alas, it happens. And for lots of different reasons. I saw a colleague in Abu Dhabi. She is a financial coach based there in the United Arab Emirates. Her name is Lydia Elim Andrews. And she posted on LinkedIn recently that all marriages will eventually end either in divorce or in death. And it makes a lot of practical sense, but initially it jolted me, because as much as we don't like thinking about it, all marriages eventually end. Some dissolve sooner than others, either by death or divorce, or even in some cases where people live completely separate lives but are still legally married. This is not to say that divorce is something that I advocate for. In fact, I stayed married way longer than I should have, because I believe in marriage, and I believe that problems in marriage are simply opportunities for growth. Me, the eternal optimist. And that does not mean that parties have to go separate ways. I fought long and hard for my own marriage because I truly believed in restoration, and I believed that it was possible. I wanted a lasting, healthy, happy marriage. The little girl in me who had grown up in a broken, dysfunctional home ached to create a family life for my child that I didn't have. I knew I fought hard and longed to hold on to a dead and decaying thing, because I believe that God can raise the dead. But he gives us free choice, doesn't he? Choice to either choose his way or our own. I wanted to be able to look my child in the eye as he got older in his later years and let him know that I did everything I could to fight for his family. When it became apparent that the dream that I had was no longer possible, I was shattered. I felt like I had failed my son with my choices and that I had failed myself. Number 2, emotional turmoil. The roller coaster of emotions from grief to anger to profound sadness felt like an unrelenting storm within me, threatening to engulf everything in its path. Let me tell you, as challenging as being in what I now see as a toxic marriage was, divorce has not been a walk in the park either, especially at the very beginning. The first few years were very, very, very rough. I went from denial to shock to fear to anger to brokenness and more. And on top of my own emotional turmoil, I had to contend with that of my 5-year-old child who had only ever known his mother and father together, as he had been raised as an expat kid oceans away from his extended family. He was completely distraught, and I had to face his emotions, raw as they were, that severely compounded mine. Number 3, financial strain. Suddenly, finding myself responsible for navigating financial matters alone was overwhelming and stressful, adding another layer of strain to an already fragile situation. I had sacrificed my own career to be a supportive, trailing expat spouse, which means that you travel while the other person works and you are not actually moving for work yourself. So you are not likely to be working and you're home based while the other party, the other spouse, is the one who moves for a job. So that made country moves really difficult, and I made them repeatedly to the whim and the fancy of my ex, because that was just what I thought was wise for my family. I extended myself for the common good. And that certainly did not do me any favors when I was suddenly left with hefty joint financial obligations in a country that was foreign to me. I couldn't work and I couldn't earn enough when I formed my company because I didn't have an established network. The lack of financial stability was a greater strain than it needed to be, and I was bewildered that someone whom I had sacrificed so much to support could leave me destitute after 10 years of marriage instead of helping me to get established properly after separation leading to divorce. Isolation. Being left in a foreign country without the support network I once relied on left me feeling isolated and alone, amplifying the sense of abandonment and vulnerability. There were many days and nights that all I wanted to do was to put my head in my mama's lap and holler, which is what we say in Jamaica for that big, soul-wrenching, guttural, ugly cry, or the kind of wailing that is only acceptable when somebody dies. 5, identity crisis. Divorce forced me to confront questions of identity and self-worth as I grappled with a sense of the loss of roles and labels that I had come to define myself by. I had been married for an entire decade. I had dropped my father's name, and 10 years before, I faced the anxiety of dropping my father's name. And I now know why I was actually anxious then. I was fully expecting to be married well into my old age. I was a wife, a role that I felt was so sacred that it was ministry. But who is a wife without a husband? That's where I found myself. Number 6, parenting challenges. Balancing the demands of single parenthood while still also coping with my own emotional upheaval posed significant challenges, testing my resilience and patience in ways I never imagined. Things were made even more challenging for me because I literally had no breaks. My child did not see his father for over 2 years. He left the country and had every reason that he had not to visit even for 1/2 day in 2.5 years. That means that there was no grandparents or aunties and uncles to take him for weekends because they were not here. It also means that I did not have the privilege of breaks. Number 7, legal battles. The complexities of navigating the legal system and negotiating settlements added layers of stress and uncertainty, further exacerbating the turmoil of divorce. Unnecessarily difficult. I ended up owing multiple thousands of dollars in divorce fees, fighting custodial battles for nothing, especially after which said person has only seen the child twice in 5 years and was never barred from seeing the child to begin with, not even for long custodial stays. Go figure. 8, rejection. Moments of self-doubt and insecurity crept in as I questioned my decisions and wondered if I would ever find my footing again in this new reality. I had given everything and I was rejected, discarded like vomit without grace and dignity. It was something that broke me and a root that I had to confront. Number 9, loss of trust. The betrayal and breakdown of trust in my marriage left me grappling with profound feelings of betrayal and disillusionment, making it difficult to trust again. Betrayal is trauma. Serial betrayal is heaping trauma on top of trauma. The betrayal didn't just stop in divorce, it simply shifted forms. Not taking care of responsibilities and obligations and financial abuse, those things are also deeply traumatic. Number 10, fear of the unknown. Perhaps the most pervasive of all was the fear of the unknown, of what lay ahead, of whether or not I would ever find happiness and fulfillment again. I had grown secure having a man in the house after 10 years. And so all of a sudden I was alone with a young child. I was literally afraid at night. I felt exposed and unprotected and insecure in my own house and my circumstances and in my future. So those are the ways that divorce broke me. And now I want to talk about the lessons that I learned from divorce. Number 1, resilience. Through the pain and turmoil, I discovered a reservoir of inner strength and resilience I never knew I possessed, enabling me to weather even the fiercest storms. I learned that even though falling was part of life, I could choose to keep on getting back up. I learned to keep on showing up and to face the music of joint debts and debtors and collectors, taking full responsibility for my own role and for being upfront with them, working hard to pay back one debt after another, and continuing to do so with grace and dignity, because that's just who I am. I'm a resilient woman who shows up to face her own music. Number 2, self-discovery. Divorce became a journey of self-discovery as I peeled back the layers of expectation and rediscovered the essence of who I truly and really am. I had to hold on to my true identity in Christ despite all the negativity that was being projected on me. I also had to deal with me. I had to process my trauma. I had to get therapy and spend time healing and getting to know me in a deeper way, who I had become, the person who had vacated my own life in many ways, to find out the ways that I had been blind to my own needs and my own role in my own demise. I also discovered what I truly wanted for my life and that of my child. Number 3, empathy. Walking through the fire of divorce cultivated a deeper sense of empathy and compassion within me as I learned to extend grace not only to others, but also to myself. By nature, I have been compassionate to others to a fault. And so I had to learn to give myself more grace and more compassion. Putting my own needs aside for the sake of the common good is no longer my default. Empathy is finally believing people when they show you who they are and placing them in the right position that they need to be as a result. And that leads me to the next point: boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries became essential for my emotional well-being as I learned to prioritize my needs and honor my own limits without guilt or apology. I learned my negotiables moving forward. I didn't want to engage with a person who stayed stuck in the past. I didn't want to remain attached to someone who was bent on his own self-sabotage. I no longer wanted to be at the brunt of someone else's chaos. And sometimes that means going no contact. Number 5, forgiveness. Forgiving others and myself was a powerful act of liberation, releasing the chains of resentment and bitterness that threatened to consume me. And I've learned since then to forgive quickly and forgive often, because we surely need to do that even as we walk through divorce. And I know even pray and fast for the well-being of my ex. He's after all the father of my child. And I've purposely taught our child to have a healthy forgiveness and a healthy heart of forgiveness towards his father. And this has protected his heart. He's free to set whatever boundaries he needs to, as well as to be able to be involved as much as he wishes to. And he wants more than video calls, but he's grateful that he has those and finds ways to bond with his father over them. And he's open to more should he get more as well. He's a wonderful child. Courage. Embracing vulnerability and stepping into my authenticity required immense courage, but it also opened doors to new possibilities and opportunities for growth. I've committed myself to the process of healing, and so I can share freely. Who the Son has set free is truly free indeed. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of our testimony, and by not loving our lives unto the death. I share all I do in this podcast so that I can help others to share hope. And for the next point, community. Building a supportive community of friends and allies became a lifeline during the darkest moments, reminding me that I was never truly alone in my journey. Ministry has been the first community of support for me at my lowest. It turns out that the very people that I served in ministry were the ones that God used to support me in my most vulnerable moments. Those who literally hid me and my child even when we were endangered. Those who prayed with us, those who prayed for us, those who stood in the gap financially, especially my own family, my mother, my brothers, my cousins, the brothers from other parents who stood in the gap as father figures for my son, my aunts, those who brought me coconut water when I was sick in one of the many long fasts I did to be able to survive that hell I walked through. My community, for you, I have the greatest gratitude. Cultivating a practice of gratitude helped me shift my perspective from scarcity to abundance, allowing me to find joy and beauty even in the midst of adversity. I've talked much about scarcity and abundance this season and will continue to do so because abundance is a secret to thriving in desert places. I don't focus on what I no longer have. I have ceased to fixate on what's lacking. Instead, I focus on multiplying what I already have. There are more for me and with me than there are against me. I'm grateful that I'm not alone, and if I feel alone, I'm truly never lonely. Self-reliance. Learning to rely on myself and trust my own instincts has helped me to be empowered and has allowed me to take ownership of my life and shape my own destiny. I had to learn that my destiny is not attached to anyone who left. I am enough because God is more than enough and He has made me in His image and likeness. I have all I need to thrive. I also learned that having a secret saving investment stash is imperative for every woman. And I believe every woman should be earning her own money, even if it has to be from working from a home business or a job based from the house, and channel all of that income from those efforts into a secret stash. That's important. This is your divorce insurance policy so that if anything happens, you're secure and your family, your children are secure. And if you end up retiring and having had a happy marriage, then by all means treat yourself and your husband to wonderful trips to use that money that you stashed away all those years. Number 10, hope. Above all, divorce taught me the invaluable lesson of hope, that even in the midst of despair, there's always the possibility of redemption, renewal, and a brighter tomorrow. God never gives us more than we can bear. And when I have felt overwhelmed, which I have felt very many times, I cast my cares upon Him. And now we get into this part where we talk about the ways that my life has actually become better because of or after my divorce. Number 1, authenticity. Embracing my authentic self and living in alignment with my values has brought a newfound sense of freedom and joy in my life. I no longer have to live in compromise. In my 20s, I purposely pursued authenticity. In my early 40s, I can now say that not only have I found it, but I now abide in it. Number 2, independence. Rediscovering my independence and reclaiming my autonomy has empowered me to pursue my passions and dreams with newfound vigor and determination. I'm back on camera, guys. It's amazing how much you can grow when you detach yourself from toxic self-saboteurs. Their chaos is no longer your chaos to heal and fix. And now you can spend your time healing your own internal conflicts. You become your whole self. 3, healthy relationships. Letting go of toxic relationships and cultivating healthier connections based on mutual respect and understanding has enriched my life immeasurably. I lost more relationships after divorce than just the divorce itself. Some that were very painful to lose. As I got more secure in my own independence and my boundaries and more healed to share my story, people have fallen away. It is what it is. I'm grateful for the precious times they have shared in my journey and the significant roles they have played. Rockets need boosters to launch, but when boosters run out of fuel, they are detached from the rocket and fall away. And this results in a smaller rocket that picks up speed to propel faster and higher. Some relationships have a time span. Because I have become healthy in my own relationship with myself, I'm okay with allowing people to detach when they want to. And I'm okay with fostering healthy relationships. In fact, I'm only okay with fostering healthy relationships, period. Point blank. Number 4, personal growth. The challenges of divorce have been a catalyst for personal growth and transformation, propelling me to new heights of self-awareness and fulfillment. Woo, child, things certainly have gotten easier and things have gotten brighter because I've had to share close quarters in a relationship that sucked all the oxygen out of the room. I've now been able to grow and to focus on my own growth. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't just he who was toxic. I too brought my own deep levels of toxicity into the relationship and perpetuated it. We were just a toxic melee that kept on regurgitating in ourselves and making this thing really difficult. But in the absence of somebody else's toxicity, I was now able to focus on my own. And I'm now fully devoted to becoming the person that I have to be to live the life that I've been called to and do the things for which I have been sent and have all that was meant to be mine in this land of the living. I am free to focus on me. Career success. Finally, focusing on my career and professional goals has led to new opportunities and achievements and has opened up wonderful doors. Even less goes a longer way when you don't have the friction of dissent and disagreement. There's no roller coaster. Life becomes easier, as does your life's work. Now, you see, people now see me without all of that other stuff going on. And people are drawn to me. And I help as many as I can, as much as I can. And I have work that brings so much fulfillment and purpose to my life because I am free. 6, parenting enrichment. In all honesty, I don't co-parent. I raise my son alone. I see it as my divine privilege to bring a child into this world and to parent, even if I have to do it alone. Doing life with my child brings so much joy to my life, even when I feel exhausted. Co-parent is for parties who are present physically and who have a joint vision to make personal sacrifices for the good of the offspring of a failed relationship. So, in my case, I solo parent with compassion, working from home so that I am able to play double and triple duty for my child. This has enriched my relationship with my child and fostered a deeper sense of connection and understanding between us. I make it a duty to apologize to my child when I'm wrong and remain accountable for my own shortcomings and aim to be better and do better. He sees that I'm always there for him and how I put him first and how much work I put in to give him the support that he needs in the areas he needs and to be there for him in extracurricular activities, which I have made a priority for his healthy, secure, and rounded development and self-expression. 7, spiritual growth. Navigating the spiritual dimensions of divorce has deepened my sense of faith and connectedness to something greater than myself, providing solace and guidance along the way. Remember when I said earlier that I was a wife who now found herself without a husband in the wake of divorce? Well, lo and behold, I found an anchor in the scripture that says, my maker is my husband. I learned that God was my provider and my source. And I even learned how to trust him to get me out of debt and to provide the resources to pay all my bills on time. And I'm trusting and believing that I am blessed to be an even greater blessing. My divorce has given me a heart for single moms and their children, and I'm building a foundation to be able to give back and serve this vulnerable community in which I found myself. Number 8, creativity. Embracing my creative passions, whether through writing or art or other forms of expression, has been a source of healing and inspiration, allowing me to channel my emotions into something beautiful and meaningful. I've had to learn to effectively monetize my skills, experience, and knowledge, and now serve people, companies, and governments internationally by doing so, and teach you and others to do the same. Number 9, embracing the unknown and stepping outside of my comfort zone has led to exhilarating adventures and experiences that have enriched my life in countless ways. This is one that is still developing, and I'm so open and excited for what's ahead for myself and my child. I felt like I spent the time and the resources to build a strong foundation and securing us in our most chaotic season. And the rewards of this is a season of such wonderful adventure, exceedingly abundantly above all we could ever hope, ask, or think. We are living in our season of answered prayers, and this is our year of the testimony. Number 10. Finally, divorce has taught me that love in all its forms is resilient and boundless and transcending the confines of marriage, and reminding me that love is the truest measure of a life well lived. I now know what true love is and what it is not. I now know that I am not a woman who needs to be rescued from her own life. I already have a whole savior for that. I now know that I am worthy of the best kind of love and intimacy with someone who authentically shares similar beliefs and values. And until then, I delight in being that partner to myself. I love myself. I love the woman I'm becoming. And all of that hell that I've been through has catapulted me into my divine destiny. Great things are ahead of me. Great things are in my future. How great is our God who wastes absolutely nothing. My dear Thrivers, divorce may break us in many ways, but it also has the power to break us open to new things, new possibilities, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. So if you find yourself navigating the stormy seas of divorce, remember this: you are not alone, and your story is far from over. With courage, resilience, and a willingness to embrace the journey, you too can find your way from breakdown to breakthrough. I still can't believe we've reached episode 10. I really enjoyed walking with you on this journey in this entire season 2. And if this has been a blessing to you, please feel free to partner with us through sponsoring or donating to this mission. I want to hear from you. If you've watched this episode all the way until the end, please subscribe and like and give us an encouraging review. See the description box for ways to partner with us to support our mission to help you build healthier and wealthier relationships with yourself and others by feeding your body, your soul, spirit, and your pocket. Also, send us your feedback about this podcast by sending us your voice notes and videos via DM on Instagram at Chef and Steward, and we will replay them in upcoming episodes. I'm Kari Heron, and you've been listening to Thrive with Kari, created and produced by Chef and Steward Content Studio. Join us in the next episode on YouTube and add us in your library for automatic downloads on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and wherever podcasts may be downloaded. See you next time.